The Ever After. This brand new world is completely unknown and foreign to our characters that fell into it, except for maybe one of them. In the Volume 9 opening, we got a lot of imagery and hints as to what is to come in this volume. And near the end of the opening, there was one scene that is very telling. In fact, it might show us exactly how all of these characters and the Ever After itself came into existence. As RWBY is falling through the world, or falling across the screen, we see in a mural behind her all of the characters that we will come to know throughout this volume. We see the Knight, the March Hare, the Red Queen, we see the Caterpillar, Alice, the Blacksmith, and the Jabberwocker, and the Cheshire Cat. And at the bottom, we see Neapolitan. Now, examining each of these images individually would indicate that, oh, these are all the things that we're going to experience throughout the volume. But when we look at the larger picture, when we string these images together, and the larger picture is revealed, I don't know about you, but this really seems to show that everything is of Neo's creation. That she is giving rise to all of these characters and the events that are happening in the Ever After. That everything in Volume 9 might, to some extent, be a result of Neo's interference. That this world is one of her creation. Now you might be asking, how exactly is this possible? Well, I made a video previously after we got that first teaser back in the summer, about 6-7 months ago, that the characters who fell into the Ever After, their semblances, their abilities, might have an unknown effect on the world, that they might be able to distort and possibly destroy this world due to the abilities that they have. Because the Ever After is a world that was never meant to have the magic that was gifted to humanity way back when the gods of light and darkness were there. And of course, that humanity was destroyed, but in their place rose the second generation, or the second coming of humanity, that had some remnant of that magic remaining, that being their semblance. And I don't think the Ever After was ever meant to interact with beings that have this inherent power, that have semblances. I don't think we're going to encounter a single other character in the Ever After that is, native to the Ever After that has a semblance or an inherent power like that. I think our main characters are going to be the only ones who do, and I think their semblances may have larger effects on the world itself. This is why we didn't see any of their semblances activated in the very first episode. We might see that later on. But when a character's semblance, out of the 6 characters that we have, Team RWBY, Jean, and Neo, if one of their abilities was to, say, create things in the physical world, then that could have some very drastic effects when we consider about where each of the characters fell, how they entered into the Ever After. They were in the crossroads, a space made by the relic of creation. Essentially, this was a bubble of creation, and all of them fell into that bubble, or I guess out of that bubble, depending on how you want to work it, but they fell into, like, the open pool of creation, into this void. So what I think this image is implying is that Neo, with her semblance, interacted in a way with the powers of creation and created this alternate world. We do know that when she was young, Neo loved fairy tales, and with her semblance being overactive imagination, and also Neo just as a character, she still kind of has that childlike wonder. Well, all of that combined may have given rise to the world that we are going to explore in Volume 9. Not that Neo is powerful enough to create worlds in and of herself, but the way that her semblance interacted with this powers of creation. So it could very well be that this entire world is an illusion of sorts. I have no idea how they would be able to escape this illusion, or how they're going to get back to Remnant, because they did fall into the middle of a void, but, this image really does imply that Neo is at the source of all of it. And another scene that we got in the Volume 9 opening, I think, kind of reinforces the idea that Neo is in control in this world. Maybe not in control of everything, as it does seem like each of the individuals, the characters that we've come across, Little and the Jabberwocker, they seem to have their own goals in mind, or their own personalities and their own way of doing things, but I think by and large Neo might be in control, because we see her sitting at a table at a tea party with some tea in her hand, but a number of shadows behind her, as if she's sitting, similar to Little Miss Malachite, as a mob boss, controlling her lackeys, or what is very likely the shadows behind her, characters from her past. possibly Roman Torchwick in the center there with her parents right beside him, and other characters from her past that she's brought to life through her own semblance. And so, you know, we might see Roman Torchwick again. We'll probably see some of Neo's backstory in Volume 9 itself. If you want to know more about that, I highly recommend checking out Roman Holiday, the book written by E.C. Myers. It is an excellent book, gives a lot of backstory to both Roman Torchwick and Neo, and I really do think that was released after Volume 8, before Volume 9, for this purpose, so that we can explore that before moving into Volume 9, where it will come to fruition, and we will explore Neo's character in depth in this volume, through the world of her own creation. Everything in it possibly being symbolic of things that she's experienced, of the hopes and dreams that she once had, the fears that she's experienced, the abandonment, the anger, the rage. And it's possible that each of these shadows that appear behind her in this image are characters from her past, but in the Ever After they will take the place of other fairy tale characters, if that makes sense. For example, from what we know about Neo's past, she didn't really think too fondly of her parents, so they might take the form of negative characters in the Ever After. Her father might be represented by the Jabberwocker. Her mother might be represented by the Red Queen. And Roman Torchwick was her savior, her hero. He might be represented by the knight that we see. And it's possible, within the same vein, that other characters' emotions as they fell into the Ever After had some influence on the way that the world works as well. We saw when RWBY cried at the beginning of episode 1 of Volume 9 that the world did respond. So if the world does respond to strong emotions, when Jean came to this world and he had the desire to be a hero, well, when the world was responding to Neo's semblance, it might have responded to Jean's emotions as well and kind of combined the two. That the knight both represents Roman Torchwick, but is physically also Jean, just altered personality, something of that sort. And if that is the case, then that could also reinforce the idea that Jean will be Neo's savior, take out the Jabberwocker, save her from her own demons, and be another person that she could rely on. Granted, a lot of this is just speculation, but this one image really does indicate that this world is one of Neo's creation. At the very least, it looks like the Jabberwocker is coming straight out of Neo's semblance, so that might be something that was created from Neo's rage as she entered into this world. When we first saw the Jabberwocker in episode 1, it was seeking, it was searching for something, or someone. What if that was RWBY? What if the Jabberwocker is a creature that at the very least is influenced by Neo's desire for vengeance? That RWBY is its target? We do know that the Jabberwocker's likely going to be one of the main antagonists of this volume, or a creature that Team RWBY is going to need to fight at some point. I still think the Nameless Knight in the Jabberwocky poem is going to be the one to eventually defeat the Jabberwocker. But if the Jabberwocker is hunting RWBY, then, you know, it's going to be an antagonist of the whole group. But it really wouldn't be surprised if, at the very least, the Jabberwocker is of Neo's creation. That in this other world, her semblance has the power to create not just physical illusions, but physical beings. As for what this is going to mean for other character semblances, because one aspect of Weiss's semblance is also creating constructs, so she might be able to have some extra abilities in this world, create real constructs, maybe summon multiple things at the same time, as well as Blake being able to create clones of herself, so I'm curious to see how that's all going to unfold. But from this one image alone, it really does look like, at the very least, the Jabberwocker was created from Neo's semblance, if not everything else. Ultimately, though, it is speculation at this point. This image could just be implying that Neo has some influence over the entire world rather than she created it all, but we do know that her semblance is one of creating physical illusions. If it interacted with the powers of creation in the Crossroads in some way, then I could see this being possible. It would give an explanation how the Ever After came into existence, and why we've never heard anything about it before. It's possible that it is a physical world that exists and Ozpin and Salem either just don't know about it or haven't interacted with it, but I find that to be a more unlikely scenario. I think it much more likely that this world in and of itself is one of imagination. The original Alice in Wonderland story, it was Alice who saw this world. It was essentially a world of her imagination, a world of wonder. Wonderland. And I think that this world being of Neo's creation would make sense, that it is her fairy tale wonderland, combining both the childlike wonder that she had as Trivia Vanille and the madness that she has as Neapolitan. And that's going to be something I'm going to discuss in the next video. But let me know down in the comments below, do you think that this world is actually created by Neapolitan? This image does seem to imply that, at the very least, that she has a large amount of influence over this world. With the shadows that we see behind her in this other image, do you think that it is Roman Torchwick, her parents, and other characters from her past that are there? And do you think they are going to actually appear in this volume? I hope they do, and I hope we get some more backstory and insight into Neapolitan's character, which I think is almost a guarantee at this point. Or do you think that these characters are going to take the place of other fairy tale beings that we will meet along the way? That the caterpillar, the Cheshire Cat, the blacksmith, the Red Queen, etc. Do you think that they are going to be representations of characters from Neo's past? Or something along those lines. I'm curious to know what you guys think, so let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, this little speculation on Volume 9 and what is to come, then make sure to subscribe and join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. There's plenty more videos to come. And if you're interested in a little series known as No Game, No Life, make sure to check out my second channel as well, The Daily Flugel. We delve into all aspects of that series there. Link in the description below, as well as a link to my Twitch channel. We stream every Tuesday and Saturday, so I'd love to see you there. With that being said though, I'll see you guys in the next video.